Hi, welcome to Ketobiography. I'm your host, Robyn Dobbins, and if you're watching, you can see our guest today is my husband, Matt Dobbins. If you're not watching, it's my husband, Matt Dobbins. So he's here to join us today on this series that I've been doing about people featured in the Cholesterol Code documentary. And as you all know, I'm featured in it, and so is my family. So I wanted to invite Matt on today to tell his side of the story. And I don't know, we're just having like a Sunday morning. We both have our coffee with us. So we're just going to sit down, have a chat. He calls himself the pointless extra, having seen the film. Um, I don't know, maybe some of his feature got cut out, but I still think it's really important. And so I wanted him to come on today and fill us in on the rest of the story. So, in real time, the day this drops, we are on the way to Las Vegas for the COSI conference.
Okay.
And in real time, we'll be seeing the newest version and the final version of the Cholesterol Code documentary in 2 days. But we did see the original version last year in COSI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you then started calling yourself the pointless extra.
Right.
So
It all comes down to a scene where you and Laura embrace at the end. Well, the end of that segment. You two are embracing, and I'm over here. I'm about to give you guys a big hug, and I can see Tom slowly walking in and zooming in on you two, and I was like, "Oh, I'll back out." And so that's why I call myself the pointless extra. You'll see that in the film.
It is in the film. And actually, if you haven't seen it already, it is in one of the clips that's been floating around on the internet as well. So Laura finishes her piece of her interview, and she's emotional, and rightly so. And she runs up to me and gives me a hug. And it did appear that and it's totally candid. We were just standing off camera watching her do her. Actually, we didn't even watch her do her interview. We were in a different room, and they came in and told us that she was finished. And when she saw me, she burst into tears and she ran over. And it looks like it would be a 3-person hug, but this one here backs up and just leaves the moment. So
Right.
he created this for himself, but he's going to keep calling himself the pointless extra, even though he's the one that, instead of stepping forward and joining in, backs up.
Right.
So he's here with me today because, as usual, he supports me in everything that I do.
I try to.
And I convinced him to spend a Sunday morning talking for this series that I did. My biggest thing, I guess, that I want to ask you is, what do you think didn't get what do you think wasn't said in the film that you want people to know?
I mean, I think really everything kind of goes. You just had a interview with Dave Feldman, and I think some of the parts that that are past that you talk about, and you often say it was probably different in Matt's perspective. It's Matt probably would tell this story a little bit different, and I can't remember if it's in the film or not, where you're talking about our first experience at the hospital, where we had our son, and it was your OBGYN that told us to take you to the hospital, or that told me to take you to the hospital, because you were talking about self-harm, and that you did want to hurt our son at the time.
He's still our son.
He's still our son. He's still around.
I didn't hurt him.
So when I told her that, she said, "Yeah, let's take her to the hospital." So I think one of the things that perturbed me is the most is our healthcare system. Now, granted, where we were at the time, it's not a great hospital. It wasn't a great experience when you had our son, and it wasn't a great experience when we had the episode where we took you there for evaluation. Um, Sitting in there, coming from the background that we come from, where we did do counseling for kids, um, I was sitting in there and they were observing us, and I was like, they're not observing you, they're observing me to make sure I'm not putting you in danger, that this is not a domestic violence situation. Um, Actually, me and you sat through. I think we were there for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
It was a long time.
It
I
was-
remember it being a long time.
Yeah. So I remember us sitting there and just talking and talking and talking, and I felt like I was the therapist at the time that got you through that moment, because we never saw a doctor, we never saw a therapist. All that was in there was the emergency room nurse, and like you tell Dave in the podcast, is that somebody came in and they were in crisis at that moment. It was a very traumatic moment for them. So we had already been there for at least an hour when this happened. And
I feel like it was like several hours.
It may have been. It
Like
may have
in
been.
my
We were there
in my
for a while.
memory, it feels like it was like
An eternity.
4 or 5 hours. Like
Yeah.
it was a long time
So this person
of not
comes,
being seen.
yeah,
Yeah.
of not exactly. I mean, like poking their head in every once in a while. We'll be right with you. We'll be right with you. Yeah, I mean, it's like,
And they kept asking me. They kept asking you to leave, and I kept telling them, no, I
No.
want him to stay here.
right. So when that other person came in, it got even worse. And I remember you looking at me and you said, "I'm ready to go home." And so I poked my head in or out to the desk, and I said to them, I said, "We're leaving." And they said, "Oh, well, wait, we're going to have a doctor come in." I said, "No, we've been here for several hours. You guys haven't checked in on her. Y'all haven't said anything to her. We're leaving." And I think that was probably they probably didn't like me being
Yeah, they were already watching you, and you
And
were
I was-
getting irate, but you weren't upset with me. You were upset
I was
with the
upset with
process.
them, with the process. And then I think that's the first time you got medication.
And I don't believe they handed me medication there. I think it was a follow-up call with the
It may have
OBGYN
been.
the next day,
Yeah.
and just a prescription called in
Yeah, very well could have.
for an antidepressant.
So I mean that was my frustration with it. I think the biggest part was that, people that were in your situation, our situation, I mean, they're kind of lost, right? There's nobody, at least at the hospitals, there's nobody there to, give them guidance, to meet them at the moment, especially when you give them the thoughts of, hey, I may hurt my child or I may hurt myself. I would think that that's like a, hey, let's jump in and get this taken care of moment, but it wasn't. So I think that's what upset me the most. I understand, going into the ER sometimes where uh we've gone with the kids that they've felt bad or something like that, and we had to take them to the ER because there was nothing open at the time. And just sitting there for hours and hours and hours to wait to be seen. I felt like this was a moment where you should be seen fairly quickly.
Yeah, there's a triage process, but that seems like I was put on the back burner
Right.
there, because before the person in crisis came in, I don't recall it being an especially busy day
Mhm.
in the emergency department.
I
But
don't even.
I don't remember. I don't remember a lot of that. I remember being upset that I had to not be with our son
Yeah.
for that time, and because I was a breastfeeding mother, and it was the first time he was without me
Right.
at his beck and call, as young babies do. And so I remember being upset about that, though he was with my sister. He was in good hands, but it was the first time he ever had a bottle. And that upset me.
I think it was the only time he ever had
It
a bottle.
may have been the only time he ever had
Yeah.
a bottle. Yeah.
Right.
It may have.
So, I mean, I think that was my biggest, and it may be talked about in the film. I don't know, and it's something that I talked about with my interview with Dave, how garbage the healthcare system is when it comes to taking care of mental health, especially nowadays. I mean, that's a big topic, mental health, and all we're doing is throwing pills at things, and I don't know. That was um, my biggest gripe in that moment was just how you weren't taken care of. So, one of the things you did ask, or Dave did talk to you about in the podcast was.
And let me just go ahead and remind everyone that that's the Feldman Protocol.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The
we didn't
Feldman
actually
Protocol.
say that. The Feldman Protocol. That's Dave Feldman's podcast, and it's on YouTube and all the podcast players.
And I might say, I will say, you did a great job.
Thank
It was
you.
an awesome podcast.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think one of the things that was brought up is that, was there any indication to me that you had a mental health issue, or that?
Well, he and I talked about that I had gotten to a point where I was so used to hiding it that
Right.
I didn't know my true self from this other. Yeah, I didn't know. So I don't know how much I was able to actually hide, but I'm
you
sure
did it well.
I'm sure. Yeah, you married me, so I guess I did a good job of hiding it.
Yeah.
And then I let it all out, I guess, or I suppose it bubbled at some point. It just gets to be too much to try to control, too much to try to manage. I mean, you're basically living a lie. And anytime anybody's lying about anything, it's at some point you can't keep that together anymore. And I was probably doing it at that point a good 10-15 years of hiding and not telling anyone what I was actually feeling and what I was actually going through. And then I don't know, you tell your side.
I mean, the first instance that I remember, like, going, whoa, that's not something I've ever seen before, out of her, was, I think it was the day of our rehearsal dinner. And
a little Breadzilla action.
Yeah, there was. Maybe that's what I wrote it off to. You were at the reception hall getting everything decorated and stuff with my mom and your mom and family, and was everybody putting the tables together and all that stuff. I was picking up some of my groomsmen at the airport, and with my dad, and we're going to go get the tuxedos fitted and everything. And now, mind you, this is not back in the day when cell phones were as reliable as they are today. They were like a little brick that was no screens. It was just the buttons to push, and you could see the number you were dialing.
We're old.
Yeah, we are. And so reception wasn't the greatest. And I think you were calling me. And we're in the mall in the town that we got married in, and I had zero reception at all. We're getting our fitting done and all that stuff, and then we all leave and go to the reception hall to meet you. And I vividly remember the look on your face when I walked in, and it was like the you screamed at me from across the reception hall saying, "I've been calling you for hours. Where have you been?" And I told you, and there was like zero okay, I understand. It was a moment of, I don't know what I did wrong. So I think that was the first time I'd ever seen you blow up like that.
Loss of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, under pressure with the wedding, but still felt like I had a viable excuse, as most men do.
You're
But
still trying with the excuses. How well is that working?
it doesn't work well. So I mean, I think that thinking back, was that a telltale of it? Maybe. I think it was the first time, like I said, that I've ever seen that you've had I'll just say episode. I don't know, where you lost you lost your anger with me pretty quickly. Instantaneous of seeing my face.
Well, it certainly stands out in your mind. So
Right.
perhaps it was just normal angry, but perhaps it was a lot more than that.
Yeah. But then, I mean, I don't think I ever really saw that in you ever again until that moment where we got to, where we had to take you to the hospital. And then it's almost like the domino effect happened.
It got hard. It got hard shortly after that. You changed jobs and we moved, and I hated where we lived, and you were never home.
Yeah.
So I remember you never being home, and I remember us going to counseling and that, but I don't honestly, like, this is what's really hard, is that there's huge gaps in my memory. So here I am, pregnant, or maybe at that time having just had Laura, but I don't think so. I think I was pregnant.
You were pregnant.
And we have a 2-year-old, and we don't live near, I mean, we're still living on the East Coast, so we're still close-ish to family, but not, I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
I don't really remember any of that time. That's how bad things were. And I tried to be off of meds when I was pregnant, and I recognized that wasn't working. So I was on medication, and I was home alone with a 2-year-old because you were traveling. We were struggling in our relationship, and we attempted counseling. And the only thing I remember about a counseling session is that I felt like you and the counselor turned against me. And there was a lot of that. So that's a, like, honest, that's like the best way people describe, well, how did it feel like to be in that state, like to have bipolar disorder, to have depression, how does it feel? And I'm like, I have a hard time describing it, but I always felt like people were against me, that I never had any support.
Right.
I was on my own, and I was always fighting. And that's really, I don't even know what the conversations were about. I don't remember anything about it. Just that
I get
apparently I lost control in a session, and I'm pretty sure he said that I needed to go to the
it. Wasn't a
hospital.
he.
Oh crap. See, that's how much I don't
It
remember.
was not a he.
The person said that I needed to go back to the
Yes,
hospital, and
yes.
I was angry.
Yeah. So we went, I think, 2 or 3 times with this counselor, and she was asking us about the dynamic of the household, and I pretty much said that we were working out the balance of the household. And I think it was she said, well, Matt, what do you do? So I told her, I travel for work. I usually leave, Monday night. Sometimes I get home on Friday night, maybe Saturday morning, because that's how much I travel. It's a lot of area to cover. And she goes, well, what happens when you get home? Said, the first things out of Robyn's mouth is not hi, It's not missed you. It was tag you're it. And you would give me our son. And then you would go to bed, typically. And I would do the dishes, clean up the kitchen, cook dinner, whatever it was, the next 2 days. And then, Monday I was gone again. So it was, if, and I told her, I said, for me, it felt like I was never turned off. I was always on from the moment I walked in the door. It was almost my relief was leaving and going to work all day. And that upset you and you got mad. And I couldn't, I'm kind of justifying your anger here because you did have a 2-year-old and you were pregnant and you were by yourself. So I understood a lot of where your anger came from, but I think she took my side in that when you blew up after I mentioned it, because I think it was more of, you weren't justifying you weren't validating what I was going through. And I think that's where that came in, and her just stepping onto my side totally turned you off from the moment.
Yeah.
And I once she saw that eruption from you, she's like, you need to take her to the hospital. And I was like,
Well, why didn't you?
I think a lot of it had to do with our past experience with the hospitals. Whether this one would have been great or not, because actually it was
It was
really,
a really good hospital.
was a
Yeah, when I
great
had
hospital.
Laura, it was a fantastic experience.
yeah, it was a great hospital. But perception's reality for people, and my perception of the healthcare system at that time was, why am I going to go take her to the hospital, pay all this money in medical bills, and be right back where we were. So that's why I didn't. And maybe that's wrong on me, but that's what we decided at the time. So
Do you think that was, looking back on it, do you think it was the right decision? Or I don't know if right and wrong is the correct way to frame that, but would you change that decision looking back on it?
probably not. Oh, I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard,
It just is.
It is what it is. I probably wouldn't have, because at that time I was thinking about, oh my God, that's going to be another, it's going to be a couple $1,000 visit to the hospital.
And honestly, at the time, and for years,
Yeah.
funds were always very tight for us. So we had to
So
manage that very closely.
So yeah, I don't know that I would have changed. Putting the person I am now in that situation, maybe. But at that time, there were so many things as a young couple, as young parents, just making sure we have a roof over our head, food on the table, and electricity and all that stuff. It just seemed like, you know what, I got broad enough shoulders. I can just take the brunt of this.
Well, that's an interesting statement, because you had to have broad shoulders for a really long time. So let's talk about that a little bit.
I don't want to.
Yeah. Just to so the box of tissues that I keep behind me was empty. So I grabbed a box of tissues and I brought it in, and he said, I'm not going to make you cry. And I was like, these aren't for me. So here we are, but I am tearing up, just to be fair. I'm tearing up too. But this is a big question. I guess. I don't know if it's even going to come out as a question as I say it, but there's so many people, family members, who are with a loved one who is ill, who is struggling. In a lot of cases, that gets there's an alienated relationship. The relationship does not stay together. In a lot of cases, the person who's struggling is left on their own. I know I'm fortunate because you stuck around, and I think that you had every reason to leave for years. You had every reason to leave, but you stuck around. And I think that it's an important piece to share with others who are in your shoes, who are in your position. And you know what? Your reason for not leaving could have been, and probably is, 100% financial. But what happens to you as you're basically a caregiver to someone who has mental illness? What do you do, like, on a daily basis? What are you doing for yourself, if anything? How are you managing getting through that time and not leaving? And then I'm going to also tag on, what do you wish you had available to you during that time?
Well, I think
And I'm going to grab a tissue. Here's one for you just in case.
I don't need.
Yeah, whatever. Cry baby.
So I remember quite vividly. We had moved to South Carolina by this time, and I think it was easier. It got easier, at least for me, because when you would call and have a, you were at your wit's end. I'll just say that. It was easier for me to get home. When we lived in Pennsylvania, I could have been up in Connecticut, and there was no way I was going to get home. It was going to be a couple days.
Yeah.
When we lived in South Carolina, it was it was not nearly as long to get, from my area of responsibility to get back to the house within a decent amount of time. We were going to church, and I wouldn't say they were our great friends, but we were involved with a Bible study group at that time. And one of the men often reached out to me to see how I was doing. One of the husbands.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I know you didn't. And there was one night that you and we really had it out. And I think Laura was maybe 2. I mean, it was a drop down, drag out, scream fest. And I did say, I'm leaving. And I left the house. And I called him. And we talked about a lot of stuff. And he offered to let me stay at his house. And I remember this. I said, I can't. Because I looked at Laura's face as I was leaving. And I think, we talked about finances being part of it, and that's not the reason. When you were in that state that long ago, I couldn't have left our kids behind and let them feel the brunt of that. I mean, they felt things, but I felt like when I was there, I took the arrows and stayed in front of them. And I'm making you out to be this horrible individual.
Well, that's what Laura felt felt bad about when she was talking in the film. That she felt bad that she was making me be a horrible person. But I don't know that I can explain enough how bad those times were. So it's okay. You're not hurting my feelings. I know it was awful. And you're not. I know it was awful, but we're where we are now, so that's good. But I want you to talk about those times.
So I felt like there was that the kids were the ultimate reason for me not leaving. Although I've been told by that many people while we were living there that you don't have to go through this, but I do. I did. I mean, there's our kids are they're my world. You and the kids are my world, and uh, if I left you, I was turning my back on them, and I wasn't going to do that. And I think that's what I would tell caregivers is that I guess really find that one person or two people or however many that you can talk to, trust, that you can trust your conversation with, um, but you cannot walk away. These people are in crisis. They need help. They need somebody that genuinely cares about them, and you can't just turn your back on them. That's I don't know. I'm no saint at all, but I think that's the biggest thing. You can't turn your back on somebody that's in crisis, and I felt like that's what I was doing in that moment.
So how aware were you? I presume I was on that in between stage without medication at that time. Um, how aware were you that there was more than just she's angry? When did you start? Like I feel like I went on my own. I started reading books. I
Yeah, you did.
started investigating, there's something else going on here. Were you aware of that before I was aware of it?
That you may have had a mental disorder. Nah, I didn't. I just thought she's depressed.
It's just
Well,
sad.
no, I mean honestly, I had no feeling about that. Other than you know how the typical people just suck it up. Just uh, stop feeling so down. Blah blah blah. That type of thing. I think, and honestly, what probably hurt us in the long run is what did I try to do to make it better? Is that I tried to buy things and you know take the kids to go do stuff and take you to go do stuff and just maybe I'm not creating a happy environment from joyous environment for my family because uh, everybody's upset and screaming and yelling at one another. So I put us in a lot of debt when we were doing that. Um, but I was just
That's so
trying
funny
to find a
because
way to fix it.
I recall saying to you on multiple occasions, you can't buy our love,
Right.
but you didn't know. I guess you just felt like your hands. You felt a little helpless. You didn't know how to.
I,
You're a fixer. You couldn't fix it.
I couldn't fix it. And that's the most aggravating thing.
Tell me more.
Well, you're right. When people tell me they have this problem, I'm like, I just want to get my hands in there and try and fix the problem. And that's a frustrating thing for me when you just say, "Shut up! I don't need you to fix something. I just need you to listen." It's hard for me. But I think that I was part of the problem there too. That I wasn't part of the solution. But I didn't know that you had anything other than you just were feeling glum. you know. That, and it's a stupid way to put it, right? But I don't know. I just didn't think anything of it. I was I was raised not to talk about feelings. I was raised just to pick yourself up by your bootstraps, suck it up, and drive on. And that's the mentality that I was taking, and it wasn't helping the situation.
So I suppose that's a good point to make with people who are in your shoes. Like there's a fine line between not giving up and enabling it.
Right. And I think that's exactly you hit the nail on the head. Is that I was enabling it, trying to fix it, and I was just making it worse.
But you didn't recognize what it
No,
was.
no, I didn't know what it was.
So when I come to you having read these books and done some research and saying I think I'm bipolar, what happens to you? What's going through your mind?
Well, let's figure that out. I mean, let's pull the thread.
Fixer.
Right. I mean, it is, and that's how I am still to this day. I think something's wrong. Okay, well, let's pull the thread and fix it and figure it out. I think fix it's a bad way to put it, but that's exactly what goes through. I don't know if this is a typical male thing, but that's what goes through my head.
What's that? Isn't that a cartoon, a movie with the fix it and he's trying to fix everything, but he like busts through walls and stuff?
Oh, Wreck-It Ralph.
You're totally Wreck-It
I'm
Ralph.
totally Wreck-It Ralph. I got the hammer to fix it.
You just busted everything down.
Right.
So fixing it doesn't always work. That's all that is. So
Well,
having that fix it mentality may not always work, but that's where you are. That's how you are.
Well, let me put it to this. Let me put that a different way.
Okay.
Is that fixing it? Being a fixer does help, but you need to have the right approach. It's not about you trying to fix it. It's about walking that path with the individual, pulling that thread. What's under this rock? It's more of an investigative, walk with that person, and not you trying to take the load off, but help them carry the load at the same time.
So Wreck-It Ralph is carrying a hammer to fix things. If you put down the hammer, what would you pick up?
I don't know. I don't. We'll just go magnifying glass for investigation.
Sure. Okay.
I know.
You turned into Inspector Gadget. We're going at a full cartoon thing right now.
I mean, I don't know, but it honestly does. I mean, it depends on what's in your toolbox, because I was technically, my background is in fraud investigation, and I never looked at it from that standpoint. Is that okay? You tell me something like, I feel like I'm bipolar, and you start looking at some of the symptoms of it, or the characteristics of that, and you're like, okay, yeah, there may be something there. Let's pull that thread and let's start taking a look, rather than saying, I think you're just depressed. Get over it.
Get over it.
Here, yeah. Let me try and take some pressure off you. No, it's not about taking pressure off. It's about, maybe helping carry some of the load, but not completely. I guess it's justifying what you said, and saying, okay, I hear you. Let's deal with that.
So talk more about the time after that, like when I start being on medication and just seeing psychiatrists and different counselors.
That just goes back to the garbage healthcare system that we have. I mean, I think one of the biggest problems is that, at that time, have no idea about, we have no idea about the dietary side of things. And why should I? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician. Never studied that type of stuff. So how would I know anything about that other than, oh, we got all this medication. This would work. but the garbage side of the the healthcare system is that you went to one psychiatrist, go there for a few months, and then they say, "Oh, I'm closing my practice and I'm moving off over here." So then we have to find another one. And when you go in there, they say, "Oh, well, what they put you on doesn't work. We're going to put you on this." And I think the most telling part of this is that when we finally went to, I don't know, maybe your fourth psychiatrist, and you walked in and you saw the medical advertisement on the table, and you leaned in and said, "They're going to change my medication, and I'm going to be on that."
And that was like $1,000 a month, if not more.
Yeah,
Whatever that
I mean,
was. I
they
forgot what it was.
gave us the coupon thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that much more expensive, but it was still expensive. And sure shit enough, I was like, she's right. So she comes out with this new prescription, and I'm like, God, this is such garbage. No wonder people are lost, and no wonder people, get to the point. I mean, one of the most terrifying things from bipolar disorder is, for instance, the recent actor that just um, deleted himself. I just can't say the word anymore.
Yeah.
I forget his name, but lived for years with bipolar disorder, and God knows how many medications he was on,
Or getting on and off, because it's
and
constant. There's
yeah.
constantly adjustments. It's never just stable.
And I think after we found Vinny and we changed our dietary program, and I lost a lot of weight, you lost a lot of weight, and then it was like a light went off, because I think things just turned around at that moment, other than losing my job. That was, it's quite traumatic at the moment. So yeah,
I want to say something, because when you lost your job, we had already been eating NSNG for 8 months or so. Was it that long? Maybe it was less. Maybe it was only like 4 months.
No,
You lost it in 2017?
I lost it in 2018.
Okay, so it had been over a year then.
It was in February that I was told.
Okay, so I think in hindsight, but I didn't recognize it at the time, that's honestly where we start noticing that things are getting better. I don't know if you notice that, because it's a traumatic experience to lose a job. But when I'm the one that said it's time to move to Texas, after you were searching in the area for so long, I'm the one that said, let's move to Texas. So I wasn't scared of the prospect of having to pick up and move halfway across the country with the kiddos and all that stuff. To me, in hindsight, that's like the pivotal moment where cutting out sugars and grains has actually been helping my mental state, but I don't know that yet, because I didn't even know that was a thing yet.
No, I think I could tell a difference when we started, because we would go to our friend's house at nights, and we were just having a good time. It was the kids were having a good time. We were having a good time. It was like I think one of the things you said is that everything was in color now, and you're right. It was a good time. And then, they say God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. Well, I wish God would lighten up sometimes, because losing my job put me in a tailspin. Honestly, thank God we found NSNG when we did, and Vinny, because I don't know if I could have handled it if we were still at that one moment, in that moment where you were sick and I had lost my job.
It would have been too much to handle.
I was in a tailspin. I was in a dark place when I lost my job.
Well,
I know I do.
you're the provider.
I don't talk about it, but
You don't talk about it. It's
No.
okay. But you're the provider, and you have these broad shoulders, and the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and then suddenly you don't think you can fulfill your deepest responsibility, which is to provide for the family. So it makes sense. And of course, you hid that. So I'm finding out about it now in real time, you guys. I'm finding out about it now. And do you feel like there was a bit of a role reversal? Was I able to be supportive to you after, I don't know, at that time? I don't even, we've been married like 12, 13 years at that point. How long have we been married at that point?
in 2018. So we got married in 23. So got
Not 23.
or 2003. Sorry. So we were together for what? 15 years?
Yeah. Like, so in retrospect, was I able to be supportive to you
I
at that time?
Yeah, because I don't think I was taking care of some of the things that I normally took care of anymore. Like household things and the kids.
We had a lot on our plate. We suddenly had to clean up our house and get it ready for sale.
Right.
That's not an easy task.
No, but I mean, even in those, because I had 2 months to find a job.
Yep.
Was it 2 months? Yeah, 2 months to find a job before my end date. And I mean, you were, like I said, you were taking care of everything at the house and the kids and, the dinners and all that stuff. Something that I normally took care of. And I don't think you knew you were being supportive in that sense. But yeah, because you had no idea where I was at.
No, but I know it's interesting to think about this now
Yeah.
from this perspective.
Yeah, we can talk offline about it.
Uh-oh. Sorry, you guys, you don't get to hear the rest of this story.
Yeah. No, I was in a dark place. I was in a very dark place. But I think the moment you said, let's look in Texas for a job, I think it just kind of, I don't know, gave me the kick in the rear that I needed, because I couldn't find anything in the area.
No.
I was looking at like completely changing career paths and stuff like that, because
Commuting to Georgia. Yeah.
or North Carolina, just to get a job to pay the bills, and then continue to look for something else on the side. So when you said look in Texas, I was like, well, let me see what's in Texas, and there was an abundance, just an overabundance of jobs that were there when I started looking. And I think I applied for 3, and I got 2 interviews, and the first interview I did, I ended up getting the job. So it was a blessing. So
Yeah, and now we're here.
Yeah.
Your job's going well, still with the same job, so
Yeah,
that's
still
all
the
good
same
things.
job. Yeah.
So I'm gonna fast forward past this, since you don't want to talk about it online.
Well-
No, it's, I respect it. It's fine. You don't have to. But let's talk about.
I will give a quick shout out. One person that kind of helped me out in that phase, and he probably doesn't even know it. His name's Jason Taylor, a friend from high school.
Mhm.
He reached out to me in that moment, when I was in a dark place, and helped me out. But anyways,
Well, what's interesting is, like, to me, like, I talk about this like being behind all the time.
right.
I don't know that I would have known to reach out. Like, I was already dealing with my own
Yeah,
own like
I know.
level of stuff. I was still sedated at the time.
Yeah.
So I was still on meds at the time, but instead of
in those moments when I had some clarity, it used to be that I would just kind of wake up and be angry. I was able to have more of a level head, but I didn't have enough energy to be like, I'm gonna help you out now. So I'm glad that Jason was there to help you.
And he didn't even know it.
And he doesn't even know it. So I mean, yes, things were getting better. In retrospect, we could see that. In real time, I don't think we could really see that. And somehow we make it work. I mean, I do think about like moving across the country, packing, you being gone. How long were you gone? 3 months? You moved out here and we were still in South Carolina.
Yeah, it was about 3 months, a little bit more.
And managing the household, like those are things that when I look at it now, I realize I was feeling better, but I didn't recognize it at the time, is that I was feeling better because you have always done all of those things because I couldn't or wouldn't. And, you know, I was forced to. And it was hard, but it wasn't like the end of the world either. Like I always had that end of the world sensation for everything. So I don't think I had that at the time. And it was because we were eating the way we were eating. So let's go, we're here. We start hearing that eating a low carb ketogenic diet can improve mental health. And I come to you with, I feel like I need to try this. I talk about it all the time that it was always a family decision, that I was gonna try to go off medication, and I had asked you guys how you felt about it, and I had basically given you this huge task of letting me know whether or not I needed to go back on meds. This is a big deal. Like you have to be the one to do it. I might not notice it. And that at the time I fully expected that I would need to go back, but I needed to try. So, you know, it was all about me. So I want to know, and I want to know.
Isn't it always?
It's always all about me. No, but I mean, that's a big deal. We've been through 13 years of me being ill, me being medicated, blow ups, fights, you not getting your emotional needs met because I'm unavailable. We go through years of that. And then a year or two of eating low carb. And I'm like, hey, let me go off medication. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings at that time?
I can see the change in you, and I can see that you're, I think you say, like again, you say that there's color in life now. So I'm like, let's
pull the
thread. Yeah, pull the thread. Let's see where it takes us. You know, at this time, I've got honestly a great job, great insurance, but at the same time, hey, if I don't have to pay for medication, let's see what it's like.
It's a huge relief to not have to pay for meds.
So it was. I mean, honestly, I was a little skeptical and thought, you know what, we'll give it a shot, but I'm fully just thinking we're gonna be back on medication. And I think the kids were too. I mean, you could be hopefully optimistic, but I think there was a little pessimistic attitude towards it. So, you know, but you know, I've always been whatever it takes to help you get to what you need, where you need to be. Let's do it.
It hurts that the kids were a little scared, but I know they were. Yeah. So it still hurts.
Well, you got to imagine, it's not like they're adults now. That they were, one was in 5th grade and one was in 8th grade. I mean, it's not that they were, I don't think, scared. I think they were just like,
And we were in a
we're gonna be right back to the
and
same
we were
spot.
in an apartment. They were
Right.
sharing a room. We were
That
in
was
a
probably-
completely new
Right.
place. None of us had lived here before. And there
Right.
was a lot going on, and I'm like, I'm gonna go off my meds now.
Right.
And so I could see
So-
that would make them a little nervous.
Yeah. Perfect time.
Let's do
Let's
it.
go ahead and
Let's
do
do
it.
it. It's time.
So no, but it was, hindsight 2020. That was the best decision we could have made as a family, to give that a shot. It was important.
I'm trying not to cry, but it's not helping.
I'm sorry. It was the right decision to make, and it was the right time to do it. And you had the right medical provider at the time.
Well, that's a whole different
That's a
story. We
whole
don't
nother-
have time for
God,
that.
We're gonna be on the do the long form
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, we could do a 3.5 hour.
Nobody listened.
Well, that's what I said, but
So it was the right thing to do, and I think we're reaping the rewards of that, because you're who I remember dating all those years ago. Don't start that.
I can't. I'm sorry. To walk amongst yourselves. So yeah, that's kind of like the last thing to talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
It's now. How are you feeling about now and everything that's transpired to get us to where we are now?
Well, I mean, I would not give up one day of now for anything. I mean, that's one of the questions that Casey's asked me, and that even Dave's asked me. If a doctor says, because we're talking about cholesterol too, right? Your cholesterol's through the roof, and if somebody said your wife is going to die tomorrow if she doesn't get on a statin, or if they said, she's got to go back to the sedated time of what you were used to years ago,
Sleeping all day.
sleeping all day. That's no way to live. And I wouldn't give up one day now for years of that in the future. Now, I mean, it's your life that I'm talking about here, but it's you're a completely different person. It's night and day. It's not the same. I mean, this is what life is supposed to be.
I agree. I agree that this is what life's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you smile all the time. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, I appreciate that you fell into my little trap of recording an episode with me, but I have another question.
Yeah.
And thank you. I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah. For y'all, I don't do this.
No. I'm not talking about the doing this. I mean, what you just said. I appreciate what you just
Gotcha.
said. So, why do you think people should see the cholesterol code?
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is supposed to be a series about the cholesterol code. I should
Right.
probably ask about it.
Right. No, I think it's an eye opener for anybody, for medical providers, for patients, for people that don't want to have another pill they have to take. I think it's I go back to our garbage medical system. Well, I say garbage. There are good doctors out there.
There are.
I should not say that. But I think it's it's upending the whole idea of cholesterol just being the evil demon that it's been made out to be.
This one number.
This one number, your LDL, and I think Dave has done it justice, by doing the tests that he's done, and making it a just it's blinded, and it's not one of the, and I'm sure it took a lot of money, but I think it's for anybody that's got that in the back of their head that you're on a whole host of medication, do you want to be on another one? And there's lots of theories and talks about statins and how damaging they really are. So I think that's why you should watch the film and make your own judgments on it. You shouldn't go into anything thinking that this is the cure all, and it's just another perspective that you need to take in to make educated decisions.
Okay, so you're like an everyday guy. You're
Right.
not a medical professional.
Nope.
You're not a scientist. Did you feel overwhelmed? Like, did you feel like this was a movie that was just about science? And I don't want to go watch it because it's only about science. Do you think this is a movie that
yeah.
just the everyday person
Yeah,
could go see
absolutely.
and understand?
Absolutely. If I could understand it, anybody can. I am by no means a scholar or anything like that. That nothing.
These are my books behind me. He did not read any
I
of
don't
them.
read that. No.
Yeah.
It's I don't. It's not something that just went over my head. And I think Dave does a good job, and Jen, obviously, Jen does a great job of making it kind of layman's and just the ordinary person.
There's
can
great
understand.
graphics.
Great graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like a picture book. A couple words on the
If
page.
they
but
could
there's
redo this
pictures.
in a coloring book, he would totally get it.
100%. So no, it's a great film. It really does. Although it dives into the science, it takes real life individuals and stories, and talks about how the ketogenic diet has helped them, and that maybe cholesterol isn't something to be so scared of. Maybe.
Well, at least we can keep asking questions and keep pulling the thread.
Pulling the thread. That's what you got to do.
Well, I think that we just went full circle there.
Did
No, do you have anything else you want to add before we close out? Anything you feel like you forgot to mention?
No, I just encourage anybody out there that is going through dark times or has a loved one that is struggling with depression or bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, anything like that. Don't turn your back on them. Let's find something that can help, and don't stop until you do. I mean, I think people get discouraged too quickly and get to a point where enough is enough and they walk away and they're leaving a loved one behind, and you can't do that.
Thanks for not leaving me behind.
No. I love you.
Love you. Okay, so I'm crying again, but it's okay. I will put resources in my show notes today, special for this. I would be remiss if I didn't say that there's a family and caregiver support group. It's used to be called Mamas, but now it's Family Support Group, which is you can find information for that support group. It meets twice a month or every other week And you can find information on that group in metaboliccollective.org. Is where you can find information for that. And then for anyone who just wants to be in a community of other people who have mental health or are caregivers or people who have mental or neurological issues, that Metabolic Collective is the place to go. And we have our private Facebook group where you can join and talk to us. And since it's private, you can say a little more than you could on any other social media. So for now, that's the place to go. Metaboliccollective.org is where you can find all of that. But there's so many more resources out there. I will take the time to add them to the show notes so that you can get to them. And then highly encourage you to go see a screening in your area of the cholesterol code. And you can find that at cholesterolcodemovie.com. I might be wrong, but I'll make sure I correct that in the show notes too. Any screenings within your area. And of course, Matt and I are hosting a screening here in the Dallas area at the Colony, which in the intro and outro of this podcast, I say to go to my website, robyndobbins.com/documentary, but it's throwing a code and I don't know why. And seriously, I've tried to fix it and I'm just me, you guys. I'm not a computer tech person. I'm certainly not a web person. I call you, you're my tech guy.
I damn sure am.
He doesn't know how to do it either, but it's there. So the Gather site is really long and I can't say it. So just go to my website, robyndobbins.com, and click the tab that says documentary. It's there. It can get you to it. Dave's going to be there doing a Q&A following the screening. And we're really just trying to fill all the seats.
Right.
Thank you for the additional info.
Yep. You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
He's like, I have spoken.
Yeah.
I'm done. So anyway, thank you guys for listening to our Keto biography. Bye.
Bye.